What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the quartering. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am now in day 14 of the coof. I'd say I basically feel better other than crippling fatigue. That's right. Very, very blessed to have all of your support, which allows me to sleep for 15 to 16 hours a night. I don't think I'm scoring any points with the wife, but when I am awake, I feel pretty much decent. So I think I'm on the right path. So I just want to remind people that I feel very, very blessed to have this career. But also, it has given me a renewed kind of goal to get healthy. The coof is one thing, but excuse me, it'd be nice to not die early from heart disease. But that's neither here nor there. We've got a hilarious fail for everybody's fake woke grifter, Colin Kaepernick. Now, if you remember Colin Kaepernick, he was a flash-in-the-pan quarterback in the NFL who was extraordinarily mediocre for several years before losing his job to a third-string quarterback. How did he spin that? Well, isms, apparently. Even though there are plenty of black quarterbacks in the NFL, it's half dozen or a dozen right now starting. Colin Kaepernick decided to spin it into $100 million social justice spectacle by kneeling before the games and pretending that, he's fighting the cause. He's Che Guevara. He's tough, he's from the mean streets of Wisconsin. That's right. Colin Kaepernick, a black man, was adopted by a very kind white family in Wisconsin. Given every opportunity to succeed, he seized the opportunity and lived what can only be described as the American dream, being worth hundreds of millions of dollars from going from being an orphan, thanks to, in part, a white family that adopted him. Now, I'm not saying that means everything he's saying is wrong. I just mean that he is a bizarre messenger for a lot of this conversation. And, one of those particular messages that he had was that the NFL, if you remember in his Netflix special, the NFL was like being a slave. Now, I'm no history buff. I know a little. One thing I do know is that the slaves were not paid $50 million to play a game. Pretty sure they had one of the worst living conditions and existence possible. They were paid nothing. And, there's literally nothing like slavery at all in playing in the NFL. But Colin Kaepernick, who is desperate to be, the only thing I can assume is that he is desperate to get his N-word pass. That's the only reason that I think he is, he's pushing so hard at being this Kuta Kente, super Malcolm X guy with big afro. That's not who Cap was in college. That's not who Colin Kaepernick was in the NFL. It wasn't until he was fired from the NFL that suddenly it was all about race. He was mocked soundly for comparing the NFL to slavery. And it's one of those things where it's almost like making the deadly comparison of anything in modern times to, the events that led to the Second World War. It's, no matter how apt it may seem, it's generally not a good idea. But Colin Kaepernick isn't a smart man. He has been able to spin his, fake oppression into millions of dollars. So I suppose there's that. A lot of the tweets. This guy makes millions of dollars in a relationship with Nike, a company that actually profits from actual slave labor in China. What's hilarious is Kaepernick is comparing the NFL to slavery when he literally begged for years to get a team to sign him. It's almost as if he's a really stupid person who genuinely hates this country. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to call somebody like this who is so successful in grifting stupid. They must have some plan. I guess dumb people can succeed, I suppose. You see Burgess Owens. How dare Kaepernick compare the evil endured by so many of our ancestors to a bunch of millionaires who chose to play a game? Kaepernick spent half a decade crying that the NFL teams wouldn't give him a shot, and now he's decided that actually being an NFL player is like being a slave. This dude is the most obvious and shameless con artist in modern American history. Well, it appears that the grift is up. Colin Kaepernick's acquisition company loses lucrative deal, raises doubts of athletes' quote-unquote halo effect. Former NFL quarterback turned activist Colin Kaepernick lost out on a lucrative business deal with social justice-driven lender after he refused to promote the business on national television. Meaning, I want your $80 million, but I'm not going to promote your company. The failure of Kaepernick's special purpose acquisition company, an SPAC, Mission Advancement Corp., to finalize the deal with the Change Company, a lender that prioritizes serving minority borrowers, has sparked questions over how much businesses stand to benefit from partnering with a washed-up athlete, according to the Wall Street Journal. The Change Company would proudly consider a partnership with Mr. Kaepernick yesterday, today, or tomorrow, Change Company CEO Steve Sugarman said in a statement after the deal ruptured. In correspondence with executives from Kaepernick's firm, Sugarman was more direct. Quote, "There is a real question of whether or not there is a halo effect that translates into investor dollars," Sugarman wrote in a December email to the Mission Advancement Corp executives. "We need to question that assumption." What they're basically saying is being involved with Colin Kaepernick doesn't necessarily help our company whatsoever. The SPAC model, especially them run by celebrities, has exploded in recent years. Kaepernick's SPAC launched in its initial public offering, raising $345 million with the stated purpose of acquiring another company with social justice aims. The acquired company could then expect Kaepernick to use his platform to promote the business and attract investors. The proposed merger between Kaepernick's SPAC and Change fell apart after the prominent activist refused to sit for an interview with George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America, which he could have promoted the minority-focused leader. Kaepernick also refused to do other interviews announcing and celebrating the merger, according to Wall Street Journal. So he wanted their money, but didn't want to do any work for it. It's almost like his NFL career. If a deal had gone through, Kaepernick and his partner at Mission Advancement Corp., Jaheem Najafari, would have received founder shares worth $80 million in the new company. After Kaepernick's last NFL game at the end of 2016, the ex-athlete leaned into social justice activism after rising to prominence for his protests during the United States anthem. He has since struck multi-million-dollar deals with Disney and Nike while keeping up constant criticism of the NFL police and others while promoting social justice causes. Last month, popular podcaster Joe Rogan went after Kaepernick for comparing playing in the NFL to slavery. Quote, "Imagine comparing the ability to do or not do it. You sign up for it. Everybody, like so many who play in the football, want to be in the NFL. It's a goal. It's a dream. You make millions of dollars. And imagine comparing that to slavery simply because they measured people's physical performance," Rogan said. That's what he's doing. He was measuring like wingspans at the combine scores, like for weightlifting and speed and all that stuff. That's to see how physically adept you are, how good you're going to be at football. So they'll give you tons of money. The idea that this is comparable to slavery, whoever effing wrote that down, and then the fact that he read it and said it, and then they went out and this video comparing NFL owners to slave masters, and they're shaking hands with each other. What the F are you talking about? Here's the Wall Street Journal. Kaepernick's SPAC deal collapses, testing celebrity halo. Well, nobody really wants to be involved with this intense level of grift. I think that kind of what happened is, in the wake of everything that happened in Minneapolis and the sainthood and all that kind of stuff, there was a ton of money injected into this like social justice economy, right? But now it's been 3, 4, 5 years for a lot of these investments. My opinion is that what's happening is people are actually looking at this they're looking at the return on investment and they're realizing that it was a disaster to invest in these companies because all they do is make a few people at the top of them rich, and they don't actually change anything. They don't actually produce any money for the companies that are injecting the money. And it's just a get rich quick scheme for these race grifters like Colin Kaepernick. Hope you enjoyed this epic failure of Colin Kaepernick. We'll talk to you again real soon.